Deion Sanders makes his coaching plans for 2026 clear after Kansas State loss. Deion Sanders walked into the post-game press room on Saturday afternoon carrying a season's worth of bruises. Emotional, competitive, and personal. After Colorado's 24-14 loss to Kansas State sealed a 3-9 finish. The kind of ending that felt worlds away from the 9-win fireworks the Buffaloes lit up just 1 year ago. Gone were the program-defining cornerstones who carried the Colorado resurgence into the national spotlight. Deion Sanders, the son whose talent had become synonymous with the program's rebirth, and Travis Hunter, the Heisman Trophy winner whose two-way dominance captivated college football for a season. In their place was a roster trying to find itself, trying to believe again, trying to fight through mistakes, inexperience, and the relentless scrutiny that orbit every team Sanders leads. And yet, as he stood at the podium, Sanders didn't retreat, didn't deflect, didn't soften a single truth. He did what he has always done. He owned every part of the season, the beauty and the bruises, and he spoke with the kind of clarity that showed he is already looking past the wreckage of 2025 and into the future he intends to build. "God bless you guys," he told reporters, his voice even, unflinching. "You guys have been kind even considering the foolishness that you saw on the field and on the sideline this whole year. I appreciate you guys. I respect and admire your relationship." There was exhaustion behind his eyes, but there was also something else. Fire. Sanders made it clear that losing, while painful, is not foreign terrain for him. He has lived through football's extremes, its highest peaks and its darkest alleys. And he understands better than most that adversity is not a verdict but a doorway. "You don't have to go easy on me," he said. "I'm a big boy. I've been doing this a long time. When I win, I don't mind a clap, and when I lose, I don't mind a boo. I played this game. I know this game like the back of my hand." He paused, letting the weight of the season sink in, then delivered the message that defined the entire night. A vow, a warning, and a promise all at once. "If anybody's built to reconcile and to get this back on course, it's me. And I will do it if it's the last thing I do on earth. Trust me when I tell you, this was the Last Supper." It was a theatrical line, yes, pure Coach Prime, but it was also symbolic of how he intends to treat this offseason. As the beginning of a resurrection, as a moment where everything changes, everything accelerates, everything refocuses. And at the center of that blueprint is a quarterback who didn't finish the season, not because of injury or poor play, but because Sanders made a long-term decision few coaches in his position would have had the patience to make. Julian "Juju" Lewis, once the most coveted high school quarterback in America, played exactly 4 games before Sanders shut him down to preserve his red shirt. A move rooted in vision rather than desperation. In those 4 games, Lewis gave a glimpse of his future. 589 yards, for touchdowns, no interceptions, flashes of anticipation, moments of fearlessness, and yes, rawness too. He completed 55.3% of his 94 attempts, sometimes looking electric, other times overwhelmed by pass rush or scheme complexity. But even in his struggles, you could see the outline of what Sanders sees clearly. A franchise quarterback in the making, a player capable of resetting the trajectory of a program overnight. Sanders spoke about him on Saturday with the kind of belief that cannot be manufactured. "Leadership comes with balling," he said, in that unmistakable cadence that blends truth and swagger. "It behooves me when you guys think guys could be leaders and ain't balling. Leaders, that's why people follow. You don't follow no one that don't know the direction of how to get there. Do you? You find yourself lost. So you got to have ballers that are leaders." And then came the sentence that revealed everything Sanders is betting on. He has a tremendous probability and opportunity to lead. And as each game goes and grows, you're seeing more and more of that. Lewis represents hope, stability, and a future Sanders intends to build around. But his commitment to the long view extends far beyond one quarterback. Sanders sounded like a man whose plans for 2026 are already set. A man who refuses to let a 3-9 record dictate the narrative of his tenure. He understands that rosters take time, culture takes time, confidence takes time, and that sometimes a season like this, full of mistakes, misfires, and misfortune, is the very thing that forges the steel needed for the next one. In his own career, Sanders has fought through everything. Injuries, doubt, reinvention, scrutiny, and expectations far heavier than anything Colorado could put on him. That experience is the backbone of his belief that this program will rise again. He spent the year shielding his players from criticism, absorbing the blame publicly, and challenging them privately. He benched no one out of ego, but out of strategy. He raised no white flags, even when the roster was depleted. And what he gave reporters on Saturday was not an excuse or a lament. It was a declaration of intent. A declaration that he is not finished, not fading, not discouraged. A declaration that the 2025 season is not the story, the response to it will be. It is impossible to ignore how drastically Colorado's identity changed this year without Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter. You cannot simply remove a star quarterback and a Heisman winner, arguably two of the 10 most gifted players in the country, and expect continuity. The offense lost explosiveness. The defense lost structure. The locker room lost experience. The sideline lost swagger. And the result was a team searching each week for answers that weren't always there. But according to Sanders, what remains is more valuable than what was lost. Hunger, humility, and a roster that has now endured the kind of adversity that forces young players to grow or crumble. What Sanders made clear is that he believes this group will grow. He believes Julian Lewis will become the kind of leader who elevates a locker room. He believes his staff will adjust, correct, and rebuild. He believes the transfer portal and recruiting trail, two arenas where he thrives, will fill the roster holes exposed this season. And most importantly, he believes in his own ability to guide the turnaround. "I love this game and I love all the ups and downs of it," Sanders said. "I'm built for every last bit of it." His voice didn't shake. His conviction didn't waver. There was no doubt in his tone. And that is what Colorado fans will cling to, even after a season that tested every ounce of their faith. Because in the end, Sanders' belief isn't blind. It's backed by evidence. He's rebuilt programs before. He's revived locker rooms before. He's united fractured cultures before. And he's done it all under brighter lights and louder criticism than the one pointed at him today. He's been called too flashy, too unorthodox, too outspoken, too confident, too polarizing, and yet everywhere he's coached, players follow him. Recruits find him. Locks open for him. Momentum gathers around him. That is why Saturday's loss didn't feel like the ending of anything. It felt like the beginning of a transformation that Sanders intends to lead personally. He isn't running from the 3-9 season. He's claiming it, owning it, and turning it into fuel for the future. "I will get this back on course if it's the last thing I do," he said. That is not a line for the cameras. That is a vow from a man who has built his entire life on rising when others expect him to fall. Colorado may have stumbled this year. They may have looked lost at times. They may have missed their stars more than even Sanders expected. But with Julian Lewis waiting, with roster changes coming, with a head coach who refuses to be defined by struggle, the Buffaloes walk into the offseason with something stronger than momentum. They walk in with purpose, with accountability, and with a leader who believes the story of Colorado football is far from finished.